We are live. Thanks everyone for being here on the Solar Objections live action roleplay. I am Solar Joe, and today we have a super experienced solar pro, Stephen Reynolds. Really excited to have him here. He's been in the solar industry over a decade, over 10 megawatts of commercial solar, over 600 residential installs, doing it in 12 states. He's added virtual to his game in 2016, now 100% virtual as of May 2020. So obviously he's a wealth of solar information. Stephen, thank you so much for being here, man.
What's up? Thanks for having me, Joe. I appreciate it. Glad to been really digging the content and cool stuff you're putting out and the community you got going. I'm stoked to be a part of the community of solar. I think that's what it is it's a movement, it's a community, it's something cool. I learn something every day from all the cool people you have up here. So that was a pretty kind introduction. Just a regular guy out here that really believes in this mission and is really stoked to be a part of it. So glad to be here. See if I can add value. Seems to be the buzzword on Clubhouse. So see if I can help answer some questions and share some experience.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So today I will be playing the role of the tech savvy homeowner, and Stephen will be playing the role of the solar pro. So let's get started. So, hey, Stephen, I know that we already had the appointment set up. So you already have my information. So I just want to make sure you know that I've done my shopping around and I'm just looking. Okay.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I'm just here to help, Joe. I know that, we spoke and seem to be really educated. You've done a lot of research. I'm here like kind of the human Google. So I'm here to answer your questions, see if things make sense. What we're going to do is, you got me over that electric bill. So thanks for that. What we're going to do is we're going to look at your house on the satellite. I got that bill to our engineers. So we have a full analysis for you, show you how everything works, so if it might make sense for you. We get a really good analysis from the satellite. Our next step is going to be to have an engineer come out, get some 3D mapping, get some heat signatures of your roof, see exactly what we can produce. That's all free, no obligation, of course. Just checking it out, giving you the next step in the process. So you don't have to worry about making any decisions.
You know what? That all sounds great. And the thing is, though, I just know I'm very experienced. I know nothing is free, Stephen.
Nothing's free with the cat, right? Exactly. Well, you're exactly right, Joe. So what makes this whole thing possible is the sun is actually free energy. It's why we have life on planet Earth. So the sun shines down, it makes plants grow, we can eat for energy or ferment for fun. That's what's in our beer and wine. I'm having just water today. Even the gas in our car, it's all plants and dinosaur bones, right? So the sun's the reason why we have life on Earth. It's where all the energy comes from. Nuclear reactor up in the sky, 93 million miles away. So all we need to do is safely harness that with technology. Cool thing about technology, unlike everything else that gets more expensive every year, especially finite commodities like fossil fuels, technology is always getting better and cheaper at an exponential rate. So the cost for solar panels has literally plummeted 90% in the last decade I've been doing this. It's wild. I never thought I would see that. We see that in every other technology. Like, remember when flat screen TVs first came out?
Yeah, yep.
Now they're a couple $100 and they're smart, have the internet. Remember, maybe I'm dating myself, but when cell phones first came out, the big brick, the Zach Morris phone, the briefcase, $10 a minute, you either had to be on Wall Street or in a drug cartel to afford it. Now the price has come down so much with these computer chips that they'll hand you the phone and you just pay a monthly fee. So that's one thing that's happened with solar. There's a model, solar as a service, where you don't even have to buy the hardware. And, we'll get into all that. So we have a free fuel source in the sun. We have a mature technology, a military grade, mass grade technology that now has gotten radically more efficient and much more affordable. But the real reason that the quote unquote catch, and what I think is the best part, there's some incredible tax credits and rebates driving all of this. Right, so once in a while, like a stopped clock can be right twice a day. Once in a while, the government does something good. So there's really great tax credits that either you can take advantage of or our investors can take advantage of to help you go solar. And that's really what's driving it all, right? Like, I'm more of a tree hugging hippie myself, Joe. But our investors are not, right? Our investors are greedy capitalists from Wall Street, and that's cool too. Blackstone and Wall Street are some of the largest investors in solar, along with, Walmart and Google and Apple and Verizon and Costco and the U.S. military. And now a new homeowner is signing up every minute and a half across the country. And that's been doubling every year for the last 10 years, right? That's what's called exponential growth. So I want to show you, I wasn't able to share my screen. I don't know if you can see this here, but just to show you a little bit, right? So this is not new technology, right? Nothing new under the sun. Scientists have known about solar panels, the photovoltaic effect in literally the 1800s. There was a prototype in the 1890s in New York. 1940s and 50s, labs right here in New Jersey, there was working solar panels. So it's not new equipment. It's not new technology. And we'll talk about the history of solar in a minute here. But here's why we're sitting here talking, Joe, is economics, right? Going green, saving the rainforest, that's all well and good. The reason that Walmart and Wall Street, the only green that they care about and that you care about is cash, right? So you can see here, the orange is the price of a solar panel. It's kind of blurry there, sorry, on my tablet. The blue is the number of installations. So we can look, I always ask older folks if they can remember where they were when we landed on the moon. And the reason I bring that up, right, our picture back here, is we couldn't have gone to the moon without solar panels, right? It's not some newfangled hippy-dippy technology with tree huggers, right? It's military-grade, NASA-grade equipment. Back when we cared about defeating the Russians in the space race, why we've rolled over on them, I think, it's our oil addiction, frankly. But this is not new technology, right? This is, and I ask everyone if they remember where they were for the moon landing. You probably weren't around, Joe. I know you're a young whippersnapper. I wasn't there either. But the reason I ask older folks that, right, is because this is not new. This is rugged military equipment. And it's funny, I actually had one homeowner when I first started doing this years ago. It was like, yeah, I was in Florida at Cape Canaveral. He worked at NASA. And he's like, listen, kid, I don't know who you think you're rambling here on your soapbox about saving the rainforest. Sorry, not sorry. I tend to go off on tangents. So, but, to me, kind of like an evangelical mission. We're not selling a widget or a goods or services or, anything like that. I mean, we are. But the deeper thing, the reason behind why people go solar is the emotion and the movement behind it. And of course, the economics have to make sense. But solar sells itself, really. It's just a matter of being able to scale, connecting with more homeowners, and telling the story of solar. So lots of people in the industry, go ahead. Lots of people in the industry have no idea about the history here. So getting to how it's free now, right? So this is a little trip down memory lane. That NASA scientist explained to me that solar panels are not rocket science. It's basic chemistry and physics, right? Just melted sand, essentially. So the sun shines on silicon. Silicon somehow, I guess Silicon Valley is up in Central Cali. Silicon Valley is where you're at in Southern California and Hollywood. It's supposed to be funny, Joe. You're supposed to laugh at that one.
I missed that one. Sorry.
Silicon Valley versus Silicon Valley.
Got it.
But it's basically melted sand like a computer chip, right? And it just harnesses this free energy. But like all technology, when it first starts out, it's expensive, it's weird, it's scary. Why do I need a car? I have a horse and buggy. Why do I need a cell phone? I have a landline. So this expensive military technology, through mass production, everything gets better, faster, cheaper. The cost of the solar plummets. Once that happens, the rate of adoption grows exponentially. So the reason why the solar industry is such an exciting thing to be a part of, humans tend to think linear, right? Like 1, 2, 3, 4. Solar or technology goes exponential. So one person gets it on the block, then 2, then 4, 8, 16, right? I hate to use the word viral right now, but it's a viral exponential growth. And there's a lot of studies, and this is why door-to-door works. This is why being in Home Depot and Costco works. There's a lot of strategies for lead generation. Basically, once one person in the neighborhood gets it and sees it, then it becomes a real thing, a tangible thing. And then your neighbor's going to say to you, like, hey, nothing's free. What's the catch, right? How is this possible? Well, the sun's free. The technology's gotten radically better and cheaper and efficient. There's solar as a service model now, like we have cell phones, like we have with going from cable to Netflix, right? Where we had this 100-year-old monopoly that, you know, keeps raising rates 5 to 7% every single year like clockwork. And it's not a coincidence that those rates go up 5 to 7%. I don't know if you ever heard of what's that guy Buffett, the Oracle of Omaha.
Warren
Buffett, right? I know it's Warren Buffett, but I want to get the homeowner to think of Warren Buffett. I personally, from my tree hugger days, was busy studying Jimmy Buffett and, you know, Grateful Dead and all this, you know, Bob Marley hippie music. I wasn't thinking about economics and compound interest. But the reason the value proposition for solar is so fantastic, right? We're going up against a 100-year-old monopoly. Because they're a monopoly, they raise the rate 5 to 7%, right? Remember playing Monopoly, the board game? The reason that utilities and Boardwalk were such great spots, because they, you know, the analogy of the frog, if you throw a frog in boiling water, it jumps out. If you slowly turn it up, it doesn't notice. So why does any of that matter, right? The value proposition for the PPA, which is fantastic. A lot of people, you know, talk trash on it. It's great for many people. You know, owning solar and getting to truly free energy, I think, is better. Both are best. I think our goal is to be agnostic servants and of the customers, right? To see what helps fit them best. Because solar sells itself. It's a no-brainer, right? Do you see anyone that has a landline phone? Do you see anyone that wants to pay $150 for cable when there's Netflix and streaming, right? So the reason I bring this up is we're in exponential growth, right? The last 10 years I've been a part of this, the rate of people doing it doubles every single year. So it's gone from this niche, like fringe thing that, you know, rich tree huggers care about. Now, Fortune 500 companies, Wall Street's investing 3-4 times in solar than coal and natural gas, just because it's essentially like planting a money tree. The ROI can be 20 or 30%. Why? Because with this cost of the solar panels plummeting, right, it used to take 500 years to pay back the solar panels, then 50 years. Now, you know, in some markets, it's 5 to 7 years, depending where you're at, that the solar can pay for itself. Once it's paid off, it yields free energy for decades, whether we own it as your finance partner and you get a discount, or you own it yourself. So that's such a compelling proposition. So the way, I guess I'm going off on tangents, but back to you as the homeowner, how's it free? Well, that sun's free, that technology, and when it was so expensive, the reason I asked this moon landing question, solar, and most people in the industry, it seems, have no idea about this, which shocks me, but $100 a watt, right? So it would be millions and millions of dollars to do your house, but my point is technically we could have, right? It's not new technology, it's melted sand that harnesses sunlight. So as that price went down, this first dip was the computer chip revolution, printing silicon. The tipping point, right, if you read Malcolm Gladwell, Outliers, the tipping point is about 10 years ago, right? So you know what that was? That was Fukushima, right?
Okay.
So about whenever that was in Fukushima, and I'm from Pennsylvania originally, so I ask people, I want to ask compelling, emotional questions that get a reaction out of people. You know, I don't give a shit about, no one knows what a kilowatt is, a kilowatt hour. You know, what's your electric bill? I don't know. My wife pays it. My husband pays it. It's auto pay. Who cares? I'm busy. The kids are screaming in the background. Hey, you seem a nice guy, Joe, but I'm busy. My boss is breathing down my back. I got bills. Why in the hell do I care about some stupid solar panels, right? And that's where we come in, right? We need to tell a lot of things with, you know, advertising and marketing. You see this with other products. With solar, it's a new early industry, even though the technology's been around. So we have the door-to-door, which works. We have folks at Home Depot, which works. Now folks are jumping on the online lead generation, which is new to me, and I'm so stoked.
No, I got you. I got you, man. Like I hear you. I've done my own research. Like I know what panels I'm looking at. I know what I want. So I get it. Solar. I'm going solar. It's about which company and which equipment I'm getting. So, you know, we don't have to worry about, you know, talking me into solar anymore. I'm just really about why should I choose you and what panel. So what happens, like what panel are you using? And what if I want a solar panel that you don't have? Then are we just not able to work together?
Great question, Joe. So the cool thing about solar panels is it's a modular and scalable technology, right? So I'm kind of, I consider myself like solar Santa Claus. I don't remember that movie, Miracle on 34th Street, where, you know, the old school movie where the Santa Claus said, hey, if we don't have it at Macy's, I think, you know, go to Gimbals, right? So I want you to go solar anyway, whether you get with me. If you don't go solar with me, go solar with your brother-in-law, the electrician, or anyone, right? Solar, it's an amazing thing. It's like planting a money tree for you. It's going to, you know, you're going to take back your power from these monopolies. You're going to save a bunch of money, whichever route is best for you, and we'll help you figure that out. But it's an amazing thing, right? So solar panels are a commodity. So anyone can get some solar panels and install them. It takes typically less than a day. So it's not hard. So, you know, I've worked being in the industry about a decade, right? I grew up in the family construction business. So I'm old school, Joe, like my word and my handshake, like Tony Montana. But there's a lot of room in the market for all kinds of players. So you can have the local family electrician, local business, they're great. You can have two trucks in a truck. You can have local, regional, they call them dealers. I've worked with several of the large national, like vertically integrated company that, you know, are traded on Wall Street, and they have, you know, billions in backing in capital. And all of them are great. It depends what's best for your scenario. The reason why I, you know, currently work with company XYZ that I work with, I used to work with company, you know, ABCs. You know, I used to, you said you had a cheap quote from Tesla. I used to work at Tesla for 5 or 6 years, starting Solar City and Tesla. They're amazing. I love what Elon's doing. I think they're one of the most innovative companies on the planet, and with SpaceX out in space as well. So I got nothing but good things to say about whoever you go with, right? It's not hard to do this. The reason why I like, you know, company XYZ is we're vertically integrated. We're traded on Wall Street. We have over 500,000 customers. So you're in good company. We're a national company. Or if I'm the local company, right? If I'm the mom and pop, hey, we're a local second generation electrician. My granddad started the business. We've been, you know, here with local companies. We sponsor the Little League team. You know, we're not the big corporate national chain that has to worry about shareholders. You know, we have less overhead. We're more serviceable for you. You know, they're a great company, but with all, you know, right now, Elon, they're worried about rockets and their cars are amazing and building 10 million square foot battery factories and his weird tweets and whatnot. So, you know, I loved it over there as one of the, you know, top reps on the East Coast for a while over there. But they're just really not focused on solar right now. So if you know all about it, you want to go online, you know, you could probably get the cheapest quote there. But, you know, the reason I left is they're not focused, and it's really hard to get customer service. People are just going online, and, you know, I want to be here to help you be, you know, like I said, I grew up in the family construction business. So I'm here 24/7. You call me, we have our concierge. We have lots of levels of service. So, you know, you get what you pay for. And I want to help make sure you get the best value for you, and not just some cookie cutter online system that you know, plug and play. We want to get you a custom proposal based on your needs. You know, sit down and take time to chat with you and see what your concerns are, and not just give you a cookie cutter thing, but what fits best for your situation. And frankly, the companies really don't matter per se. You know, they have great back end systems. You know, I'd like to show you. I've been doing this for a while, over a decade now. I've got 600 plus installs. So I'd love to share, you know, for me, I see this as a community, some referrals and some reviews of folks that I've worked with personally. You know, it's kind of like Yelp reviews, you know, 10 people, 100 people go to the restaurant and one person writes a horrible review. So I can't speak for a national call center or the early days of the industry. But when you go solar, you're going solar with me. So I'm there for you 24/7. If there's ever any issue, you know, I'll be at your house, on your roof. I'll make sure we get taken care of. We do have lots of layers of technology and apps and things that are cool, but I want to put a personal touch on it and make sure you not only get the best price, but the best value.
Yeah, I hear you, man, and I really appreciate it. That does make me feel better, you know, talking to you. But all the research I did looking at panels, I can just tell you one thing: they look hideous, and I hate the way they look on the roof. I just don't know if I can get past that.
You're right, Joe. The panels used to be kind of bulky and bright blue, and they were far off the roof. And like what I was talking about with our NASA, the technology has worked for decades, but it did look kind of tacky. And so the analogy with the flat screen TVs, not only has the price of the technology plummeted, but the new panels, they're very thin and sleek. They're mounted. We have black on black panels now. They put a skirt on it so it blends into the roof. We're going to look at where your house is, and it looks like we can probably get everything you need on the back of your house. I personally think they look sleek. I mean, obviously I would. I'm the solar guy, but that's how the panels used to look, big and bulky like TVs. Now they're thin and sleek. And there's actually a bunch of studies from Zillow looked at this over the last 10 years. The Department of Energy, Wall Street Journal. They've actually found that homes with solar typically sell 20 to 30% faster than identical houses next door, and 20 to 30 grand more depending on where you're at. And this is, Joe, I'm a big believer that beliefs and opinions, at least mine, aren't worth anything. You know the saying about opinions. I like the data and the facts, right? So this is 10 years of data looking at tens of thousands of homes, and not just, sunny California where you're at. I'm in dirty Jersey. I'm up in New England. I'm, in the Midwest. Houses all across markets. And they've consistently found Zillow puts anywhere from 4 to 9%. So it's something that you can, it's an asset for your house, right? So whenever you do go to sell your house, I know I'm getting to like a different kind of objection there, but the point of like behind all of these objections, right? I know a lot of people kind of sort of dance around them. What the objection is like, there's the objection, but there's the deeper emotional and psychological thing behind it. And that's really what they're getting for, right? So I think like, and everything I say is basically copied from books. I'm shameless about like, don't need to reinvent the wheel, like learn from those who have gone before. So I'm just always listening to, podcasts and Audible and reading books.
So you're saying that the solar panels may not look good, or the beauty is not beholden, but at the end of the day, it's making money and it's doing a lot of other benefits that doesn't really make that a priority. So I get it. I can do that. I can deal with the way they look in the roof, because I know that solar systems get backup power, right? Is that how they during the day when the sun is out, do I have power?
Great question, right? So we were just talking about, there's you can, but the 1.0 solar, you're tied what's called net metering, right? So we just brought up, we were talking. It's ironic that Germany, which is north of Maine on a map, makes twice as much power as the entire U.S. combined, and they have no sun. They're literally north of. So that's and we have customers in Maine and Vermont and New England. So it works great in the winter. It works on a cloudy day, just like you can get a sunburn out skiing or out fishing. But the sun doesn't shine at night, right? So how does that work, right? So that how good are you at chopping wood and making candles? I know you have see some good wood carving in the back.
No,
right?
not
So
good.
I used to live out in Lancaster among the Amish. I wasn't, but they were all around, right? And surprisingly, a lot of the Amish have solar on their buggies and their barns. But you're not going to have to be a subsistence farmer and churn butter, Joe. So the way it works is just like you said, right? During the day, the sun's going to shine down. It's going to make power. It's going to typically make way more power than you need, even in the winter. And so your meter is actually going to spin backwards, which is cool to watch. And you're going to sell your power into the grid, and you get a 1-for-1 credit for that, right? So that's what makes solar possible without batteries. So that at night, the sun comes down, right? You're going to come home from work or, commute from the office in the basement in your sweatpants and dress shirt to your, to the kitchen, and you're going to cook dinner for the kids, watch TV, turn on your lights. That's when you're going to use most of your power. And there's some cool infographics on the slides we do, like during the presentations. But then at night, you're going to draw on the power you built up. So that's why we look at your electric bill and your house on the satellite. Our goal is to design a system to, offset as much as possible, if not close to all of your power, right? So just like you said, you're going to feed it into the grid during the day. At night, you're going to draw on those credits. It works great in the winter. It is going to make more in the spring and summer just because of longer days. right? Nothing to do with actually electronics work better in cold weather. But what happens if the grid goes down, right? So if the grid goes down for, snowstorm or zombie apocalypse, the solar still works, but you can't backfeed into the grid, right? So it automatically islands and shuts itself down, so the guys and the gals can fix the wires. But now we can add on batteries, which are amazing. They're kind of the holy grail of solar and wind, right? Because you can't control when the wind and the sun's shining. Batteries are amazing. It's the future, right? The trifecta is solar on the roof, battery backup in the garage, affordable-ish electric car. We were talking about Tesla out there. Batteries are amazing. Depending on your situation right now, they're kind of getting solar is like planting a money tree. It's going to pay for itself several times over and save you a ton of money. Getting a battery backup, there's no ROI, right? If you're going to spend 10, 15 grand to get a whole home generator, you can get a battery that can back up partial or most all of your home. These things are powerful. They're powering entire military bases. It's one thing to have an electric sports car, but an electric semi truck, 18-wheeler with more torque and more power. So the technology is great, but like we looked at that thing of the cost reduction on solar, right, where it's dropped 90% in the last 10 years. The batteries are just starting they've dropped to maybe 60%. There's still a lot of room for the batteries to go down in price. So we can certainly check out, the options of showing you what the battery would look like. Just understand there's no ROI there. It's just something, if you want to have that peace of mind of a backup generator, it's awesome. Love to show you that. But for most people, 95% of the time, you need a battery, and you can add it on down the road, right? So I recommend adding it on down the road a few years when the price is going to come down. But we check out both options and see what makes the most sense for you.
That makes sense, man. It does, and I get it. So I can add smart battery or not. So I want to look at both options. But my real question is, how do I know, that the system will actually do what you're promising? Like, one thing is what you're telling me, and that thing is what's going to happen. Is there a guarantee? I feel like, what happens if it doesn't happen? I get the electricity I'm promised.
Science.
Okay. What does that mean?
Yeah. So great question, Joe. I'm glad you asked. That's a great question. Yes, we do have an energy guarantee, right? A money back energy guarantee. What we're saying these systems will produce, this is based off of military satellite data, right? Going back decades. And so to finance these projects, we do, massive solar farms for the military and big Fortune 500 companies, and for homeowners, right? So this data, that's where we look at your electric bill. We see how much energy you use. We look at it on satellite. This is all based on military satellite data. They can guarantee this down to a T. Right, the weather's going to fluctuate. Sometimes you might get cloudy days. The solar, surprisingly, like I said, it works great in the winter. It works great on a cloudy day. Even if you have like a foot of snow, it's not going to be producing much with the snow on there, but it's going to slide off and get back to producing energy. But that's all calculated in this satellite data. And we have an energy guarantee, money back guarantee. You have a cool app right on your phone. You can see exactly what it's producing, when it's producing that. And because we have a money back guarantee, we're typically very conservative on that. So in reality, they usually produces more. And if it produces less, you're covered. In certain states, I don't know, you're in California, but in certain markets, if your system produces more than you use on an annual basis, it's kind of cool when your meter spins backwards at the end of the year. The electric company has to pay you, which is kind of cool to see because you're overproducing. If it makes a little less, you can still draw on the grid. But if it makes less than we say, we'll either pay you the difference or come and replace and give you new equipment and make sure everything works. Everything's a 25-year guarantee, bumper to bumper. We take care of everything. Typically, the equipment is going to last 40 or 50 years with these solar panels, and we know that because they're solar panels 50, 60 years old on satellites and on military bases. Now, eventually, it's going to produce a little bit less each year, right? And that's baked into it, right? We can look at the performance guarantee, the linear warranties. It's typically like 0.02% degradation. So in 25 years, your system should be producing like 85% plus of today. So a little bit of degradation is baked into there. It's going to, the solar panels are going to last twice as long as they're warranted for, because there's no moving parts in here. There's nothing really to wear out. I mean, eventually metal will rust, but it's cased in tempered glass. There's 500-year-old glass in cathedrals in Europe, right? So it's basically melted sand with no moving parts. It's, like I said, I don't know if I said before about the guy that worked at NASA. This is not rocket science. It's just basic chemistry and physics. Sunlight shines on certain metals and makes a circuit. So you're covered. We put that out. We can go over that in the agreement. Everything's warranted, guaranteed, insured. We take care of everything for you. You have an app to see exactly what it's producing. If it makes less than we say, we cover the difference or give you new equipment. If it makes more than you use, the electric company has to pay you, which is kind of cool to see your meter go backwards and get a check at the end of the year.
I definitely want to see my meter go backwards. I can tell you that. So what you're saying is really good information. That definitely gives me a better idea of what I want to do. But I just want to make sure you know I don't ever buy at the first meeting. So can I just get your information and then I can get back to you next week or so?
Yeah, for sure. Like, we're just here to give you some information, right? It's a process. Going solar, it typically takes less than a day to install the equipment. But the electric company, they kind of like their little monopoly. So they drag their feet, and it can take like 1 to 3 months to get the permits, right? Pico really likes their monopoly. So the process is we're going to look at your house on the satellite. We're going to look at your electric bill. I'm going to get a custom proposal for you here. And like I said, the satellite data is really good. But then the next step is going to have an engineer come out and get some measurements for you to get the exact 3D mapping and see exactly what we can fit and tree shade. I know you said, when we first met that there were some trees in the back, you had some removed. So we want to get the guy to get the measurements so we can see exactly what we're talking about. That's all free. That's no obligation. My goal is really to be transparent and give you the information and make the best decision for you. So we're going to take the steps along the process. We'll submit the papers to Pico for you. We get back those permits in 1 or 3 months. You get a chance to mull things over, check with your accountant, see if you can use those tax credits we had talked about. You might be interested. You weren't sure. So if you ever want to change anything or cancel, no worries, right? You can change your mind or cancel anytime up until the end. So we're just going to take some steps and give you the information you need. So don't worry, there's no pressure. I'm just here to give you information. And, Joe, the devil's advocate, we don't think about, right? Like right now you're in a lifetime agreement with a monopoly utility that gives you horrible service and typically raises your rates 5 to 7% every year, at least for the last 100 years, probably 70% since 2000. A bunch of articles, right? And they raise their rates because they can. So the cost of not doing anything is costing you more money. So you're currently in a contract, a lifetime contract. So I'm just here to show you your options to see what makes sense for you to save the most money and take back control of your power. But like I said, there's no pressure. We're just here to talk about it, take some steps, get you the information. If it makes sense, great. If not, hey, no worries. We'll part as friends. We even have a great referral program if it doesn't make sense for you. So we're just here to help, Joe. No worries.
I know, and I see. I just, the real issue is that I'm worried about my roof, man. Like, I just know you're gonna be putting a bunch of holes in there, and you see my tiles. Like, I just don't want to deal with any of that stuff. But what if I need to, re-roof in the future, and do I have to deal with all that? That's that's an annoying thing to worry about.
Excellent question. So the solar panels are going to protect your roof and make it last longer and stronger, right? So I think of it like a cell phone case, right? You wouldn't get a new iPad and not get the protective case on it. So the new panels being thin and sleek and low mounted, it actually during the summer it's going to reflect the heat, right? So the everything is warranted, guaranteed, and insured. We have a $2 million insurance policy on there. We cover everything for 25 years. I can show you videos where, they hailed 100 miles an hour and it bounces off. But God forbid, watermelon size hail, tree branch, zombie apocalypse, the way 2020 is going. Thank God it's a new year. We fix, replace, repair everything for free. Your typical roof nowadays has a 25, 35 plus. Some of these newer shingles Some are 50-year plus roofs. And you have an awesome roof out there. You know, your home is your most valuable asset. So we're here to protect your house, make your home more valuable, actually. So that's what we're going to do when we have that engineer come out. We're going to do a free site survey and check your roof out. So two things. So the two things that age your roof are typically like the sun and the UV rays and the weather, right? So now you're getting that sleek cell phone case on there. That's going to protect your roof and make your roof last longer and stronger, right? We put 10-year warranty on top of what you already have. And the way they mount that, Joe, is there's it's almost like a hockey puck that expands and it seals like a plug. They put that under your shingles. They put flashing around that and epoxy that goes on bridges and airplanes, right? So I don't know if you ever done any woodworking. I see you got some cool woodworking behind you there, or hopefully as a kid didn't have any broken bones heal. But where you glue that wood joint or that bone fuses, it actually makes it stronger, right? So it's going to protect your roof. It's going to make it last longer and stronger. It's going to protect it from the elements. You're going to get insurance that you don't currently have on there. And so what we're going to do is we come out and check that out. Now, if your roof, you said you guys moved in 2005. So if your roof is might be getting on the older, end of its life now, when our engineer comes out, typically if your roof is, the engineer is going to say, all right, structurally your house is great. It's rock solid. The panels are very, like I said, thin and sleek and light. So they're engineered to protect your roof and the snow slides off. But if the engineer comes out and says, hey, Joe, your roof's great, but your shingles are already 25 years old, you need new shingles up front, then typically we can cover some or all of the cost to replace that roof, right? I'm not the engineer or the finance guy, but what I see is usually we can cover some, if not all of the cost, whether you do it or we do it. A lot of times we can roll that into the financing and it may qualify for tax credits. I'm not an accountant, ask your accountant, but we'll check that out. So that's why, we'll authorize this agreement at the end. We'll schedule a time for the site survey and we'll see what's up with your roof, but it's going to protect it and make it last longer and stronger.
Well, I don't mind getting somebody. That sounds good. I don't mind somebody coming over and checking my roof, but I just don't want to pay anything or sign anything today. Can I get a site survey without signing anything?
Yeah, sure. We can have someone come out and get some measurements for you, just for like insurance purposes and just so that we're covered, just the process, right? You can authorize an agreement. You never, ever, ever, ever sign a contract. Words, semantics. Just as like if you could do the thought bubble where we hop out of the role play or whatever. It's a minor thing, but you never sign a contract, right? Like you're always authorizing an agreement or, and to me, it's important to be like super ethical, moral, righteous in what we're doing. Like we're a part of a mission.
Appreciate that.
We're a part of a good cause, right? So it doesn't make sense for someone like, hey, if you're like 70 years old, you can't use a tax credit. I'm not going to push a $5 a watt loan on you. Like that's unethical. It's not right. If you have a bunch of trees and it's on the north, like not going to do it. But the reason that I feel like it's our moral obligation is for most 95% of people, whether it's a PPA and they, save some money and get some control, or whether it's the loan, they get tax credits, whatever fits best for them. There's literally no other investment or solar as a service. It's literally going to save them tens of thousands of dollars, right? So I feel like it's my duty to explain that and help them make a decision, right? I'm there to give them information, but there's fucking Google, right? Like, excuse my French, whatever. Sorry, not sorry. Like, I'm there to help you take action. And there's things that hold people back. And I guess we can get into this later with the psychology.
Well, let me just finish it up here. I just want to have somebody. I just want to have somebody come. Yeah, I'll just have somebody come over, do the site inspection. So what do I got to do?
Yeah, great. So we're just gonna we'll call up our concierge, just confirm we have some of your information correct. We'll do a quick welcome call, just make sure we have all your contact info. We'll get some of these permits going for the local utility. Like I said, they can take a while. They drag their feet. We'll handle all that for you. There's no cost or obligation for any of that. We'll go over, all the warranties and the agreement, the guarantees and insurance, like the questions you were asking. I'll show you where all that is, right? And, it's just like what you're doing now, Joe, except now you have more protection, more control. You know exactly what you're going to be paying going forward. We'll do a quick credit check, right? Obviously, you pay your electric bills. That's all that they're worried about, right? So we'll just you said, you know, what was your birthday again, Joe? You said you were
131.79. We are close. Great job, Stephen. I'm just going to throw a little graphic. Fire. I really like, you know, I know you're explaining things longer because you're kind of doing half role play and half talking. And so I really appreciate going through that and, you know, kind of going into the background of stuff and taking these objections, going deeper into it. So I really appreciate that. So I know that this is not a normal power conversation of homeowners, but is it kind of what you usually talk about? Is that how you overcome objection? How you feel it went?
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, it's a little bit different. It's my first time kind of doing YouTube, and it's funny. We're like in solar, and I'm like, you know, not the most tech savvy. I had my girlfriend, who's the brains behind the operation. You know, women are way smarter. Just sort of throwing that out there. You know, and I'm super glad about the industry we're in, right? Just to, I go off on tangents, whatever, but that there's, you know, the solar industry employs more veterans as a percentage than any other industry. There's more women in like positions of power, and you know what we're doing with the earth and jobs and all this good stuff. I don't know why I brought that up. Oh, because my girlfriend who's handling the technology. So getting used to the headphones and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think the important thing when you're like meeting with the homeowner, right, is make it all about them, right? It's not about solar. It's not about me. It's not about my company. Like, who gives a shit about solar and kilowatts? Like, I don't know. I don't care. Right? Like, make it all about them. So the big thing, and this is all like sales 101 stuff, but is like, and we didn't get a chance to do this. We did this earlier in the day, but
well, we're going to segue right now.
Yeah, the rapport, the discovery. That's the most important thing, is making it all about the homeowner.
Let's get into that. You know, so this is a surprise for our audience. We're doing a new segment today. We're actually going to be doing 5 questions for Solar Pro. So we are not done yet. We are going a little longer. So we got 5 questions for Stephen. And I wanted to pick your brain a little bit because of your experience in the solar industry. And I want to just kind of see a few thoughts of if you can kind of answer for us. So the first question I have for you is, can you talk about, you know, the psychology of buying and selling solar? Because it's not only about, you know, like you said, selling solar. It's really about a lot more. Can you get a little more in depth about that?
Yeah. So this is, I couldn't share my screen, right? But books is where they hide the knowledge, right? So success leaves clues. So read books when you're riding around in your car, listen to podcasts, Audible, cool content like Joe's got here, right? So everything I say is basically recycling stuff I've read or heard or copied shamelessly. So people have said before, what does we have here? Sales is a transfer of energy, emotion, and surety, right? People buy on emotion and justify with logic. Persuasion is an art and science that can be learned and replicated by copying the masters. Selling is storytelling, not telling. Solar adoption is growing exponentially and utility rates are compounding. So what that means, there's, right, like we're in the energy business, right? The energy industry is the most valuable industry in human history, right? The 2 most traded commodities are oil and coffee. Why? That's what drives, that's the engines of modern industrial civilization, right? So it makes the cartels look like, you know, child's play. This is what runs the world. So we're in this disruptive, and these words are overused, but disruptive, innovative, tech-based thing where we have a free fuel source. The technology is always getting better and faster and cheaper. And what happens there is, you know, you look at every technology or good idea in history. Once it crosses that tipping point, it grows exponentially, right? So the homeowner maybe doesn't care about the green tree hugger, but about saving money, right? But it's so logically, the business case of solar, whether it's a PPA or whether it's a loan, solar sells itself, right? It's an open and shut case. Back in the day when I would do commercial stuff in the early days, that's more like a logical, a spreadsheet decision with lawyers and CFOs and, you know, what's the catch? Here's our tax equity. When you're dealing with homeowners, their home is it's their most valuable asset, right? Like it's your castle or your cave. And I think that the deeper psychology behind the 5 common objections, right? Nothing's free. What's the catch? What if I move? What about my roof? What about the nighttime? Batteries, it gets dark. Nothing's free. Solyndra, it's got to be a scam, some bullshit, right? So in the beginning, it should start out as nothing's free. This is bullshit. I'm busy. Get off my porch. Hang up the phone. This is stupid. At the end of that conversation, it should be like, this is a no-brainer. Why isn't everyone doing this? And then in real life, I think name dropping and number dropping is tacky as hell. But in here, I'm constantly referencing Walmart and Wall Street and the US military and your neighbor, right? Because these are brands that, like, if they're doing it.
So it's normal, right?
It's normal, right? It's mainstream. It's normal. Everyone's doing it. Social proof. If they're doing it, there's a reason why, right? So the logical economic reason is a no-brainer. Overcoming your objections. That guy that has the straight line selling, like the Wolf of Wall Street and Grant Cardone, like, yeah, those guys are cool, right? They're a little bit used car Wall Street, salesy, right? A little bit, right? But I think and he said, I guess after getting locked up, it's got to be moral, ethical, and righteous. What I love what we're doing is it's a mission-driven thing where we're helping people. We're not selling crack to a kid or reverse mortgage to, like, your grandmom, right? We're doing something that helps people. And a PPA or a lease isn't even a sale. Like, you're not selling them anything. You're switching their service. A loan pays for itself. It's maybe more of a sale, right? Doing cash, you're a G if you're selling cash, right? But the deeper psychology is their fear of being taken advantage of, their fear of missing out, their fear of, like, right away when a dog meets you, a dog sniffs you, right, for your pheromones. Are we going to fight or get along, right? Humans dance around that with all of the, we're tribal animals for all of the modern technology, right? We haven't evolved much since cave people, and that's what branding and, you look at, where'd you go to high school? Oh, what sport? You like the Eagles? I like the Eagles. Oh, you like beer? I like craft beer. And that's what people are feeling each other out, whether they can trust you, right? So people buy from they know, like, and trust. But what we need to do to get over that inertia of doing things the way they've always been done, right, is like, sure, it sounds great, Joe. It sounds, yeah, I love a tax credit, but I don't know. I've always been doing this. I'm scared of the future. We need to create enough emotion, right? So people buy on emotion and justify with logic. I know I can get a cheap phone and I can eat ramen noodles and I should go to bed and I should work out. Why do I get the iPhone? Why am I binge watching Netflix? Why am I eating ice cream, right? Because we're emotional creatures that justify. So if you can create that emotional thing, and we see this with advertising and marketing. And solar, surprisingly, we don't have that. The beauty of that with exponential growth, 3, 5, 7 years, this is going to be a mainstream thing. People are going to go into Home Depot. They're going to go online and just click a button and get it. So that's why the window of us making these great margins, like real estate level commission, a chance for generational wealth, doing well by doing good, there's a limited window. So get out there and fucking hustle and help your neighbors and friends and family go solar, because at some point in the future, they won't need us to tell this story. But for now, there is no advertising. We are the story. So when you see a commercial at the Super Bowl, right, none of that is coincidental. There's deep psychology behind that. The tools of advertising and marketing were actually military technology that was illegal to use on citizens in a peacetime back from World War I, right? Like, the military, breaks you down and builds you up. They know the fundamental things of why people do things and how to persuade them, right? None of this is coincidental. Every sale, the Belfort guy, every sale is exactly the same. You have to hit a certain levels of trust in you, your product, your thing, but you need to also create emotions. That's where it's asking Socratic questioning, leading Socratic questions to create a desired emotional response to pair bond yourself and your product with that, right? What do I mean by that? So, like, you see with, and the reason why this is so good, because we're storytelling people, but you look at, and like Mad Men and stuff in the 50s, you see someone riding down with their hair blown in the wind and a pretty girl or a muscular dude, and, and all of that is, right, they're not selling a car or a washing machine or ideology or politics or religion or widgets or products and services. They're selling feelings. And that's the Tony Robbins, right? People buy feelings. they're selling freedom and sex and power and independence and control. And, if you buy a car, any car besides a Tesla, it's a depreciating rust bucket. Most of the crap you buy on like Amazon or whatever is like made in a sweatshop with fiat money on credit that you can't really afford for crap you don't really need to impress people you don't really care about, right? But solar, it actually checks so many of those boxes. You can really help people save money that don't have the luxury. And there's so many people that front and like act like they're making all this money and they think like they're God's gift to sales. Like, one, it's a movement. I remember back in the day when you were like making $100 a kilowatt, maybe, right? There's a lot of people that are blue collar working people, middle class, lower middle class, that's saving $50 a month or a couple $100 or over time, 10, 20, 30, 40 grand is a lot of money, right? That we can educate them and like take that savings and invest it in an index fund. And I think what we're doing is it's an evangelical conversion to the light, and it has to be mission driven. And so what I'm saying is these psychological tools are very powerful, and you can manipulate people to effectively do whatever you want. Like, you look at why people buy the $200 Jordans versus the $15 Kmart. Maybe that's different. They're buying Michael Jordan, but blue jeans, it's the same exact thing made in the same sweatshop. So I guess my point is that we have to tell the story. We ask them questions that create an emotional response, right? So, and who's asking questions is in control, and I'm leading them on. So the part that we didn't share that we would normally have back in the day when I would go to your house or now virtual is it's all about them. So first, ask them questions, right? Use humor, be confident, be relaxed, be laid back. Most communication is like body language, nonverbal, which surprisingly surprised me, can translate over virtual and Zoom. But yeah, I mean, just basically read these books, listen to these podcasts and Audible, copy the successful people, right? Take the most successful people in your office. Like, once we all get vaccinated and the world comes back, like out to lunch, call them up. People want to help. People want to, help you do better. I guess my point is it's and I tend to ramble or whatever, so feel free to tell me to shut up, but I'm passionate about this stuff. And that's what it is this transfer of energy and surety. So you're like, well, what about this? What about my house? Like, I know this is going to help you, Joe. Here's why. Like, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't help you make a decision to take action. And I love that guy, Michael O'Donnell, is that his name?
Oh yeah,
him speak, and he goes on rants, and I love to listen to that dude. And he's like, hey, they didn't send me out to give you information. There's Google, right? I'm going to give you information. I'm not going to pressure you. If it makes sense, great. If not, great. You still have time. You're just taking the steps down the process. But I'm not doing my job if I don't help you make a decision, because I know if you don't go solar, it's not like you're driving a Honda and I'm trying to convince you to buy a Ferrari. You're driving a Honda and I'm either trying to give you a discounted gas card, right? That's going to save you money right away that costs you nothing. Or I'm going to put a gas refinery in your backyard. The government's going to give you 10 or 15 grand in tax credits, depending on what state you're in. Like, I'm in Jersey. The T-Rex could be worth 10 or 15 grand.
Oh yeah, I love it.
Your payback, right? And so people don't think about that. So that logical case, and I think that's the other thing too, is you have to make that case like when you're making an English paper or you're a lawyer or making a business case, like, here's my thesis. Like, it's going to be good for you to go solar. You've got to give the facts, the details of why. But I think it's important to use the emotion and analogies, right? So on a commercial deal, it's about ROI versus IRR and net present value, all the shit that's above my head. For your homeowner, it's emotions about their family, their castle. So I'm making analogies always of, remember what flat screen TVs were expensive? Now they're cheaper. Hey, remember you used to have $150 for cable. Hey, now Netflix, because technology is better, faster, cheaper. We cut out the middleman. Hey, you can get it for $10 a month or whatever. And now, they have their own scams with subscription.
Yeah, no,
analogies you can understand.
I got it. Yeah, no, I hear you, man. Like, that's the way you're relating, the way they're confident, the way you're making sure that they understand, and it's not just selling equipment. So, guys in the audience, if you feel you got some gold nuggets, you got some good information, this is a good time to like. If you have any questions for Steven, he'll get back to you. I'm sure after he's done here. So if you want to put questions in the comments, this is a good time to do that. Like, heart. share, it's a good time to do that. So I want to kind of go to the second question, and you know, you don't have to be too in depth, but I really appreciate you answering these questions, because I know that you've been doing virtual since 2016, and now you're going fully virtual since May. So just, can you talk about your transition to going fully virtual? What have you learned works and what doesn't work?
Yeah, so it's great. It surprised the hell out of me, to be frank, right? So it's really like that 4-minute mile. Like, no one thought it was possible. And then the one guy did it, and then the next year, like 50 people did it, and now like high school kids can run a 4-minute mile. I discovered it by accident. So we both, back in the day, in the early days, worked at Solar City, which became Tesla. And a lot of people got their start there and learned, like, hey, I can make my own thing, or stay with big companies. A big thing for me is like an abundance mindset. I hate how reps talk shit on other companies and trash this or trash Tesla. It's like, say why your company is awesome and what your niche is and why you're passionate. They're buying you. Like, anyone can get a freaking solar panel on Amazon, right? Like, it's a commodity. They're buying an experience and all this other stuff. So, well, yeah, we both went back there. So I first got my start like 10, 11 years ago. I was out in Hawaii. I grew up doing construction work. So I was out there doing construction. And yeah, I was out in Maui, Aloha, way different speed and pace. I'd be in like flip flops, and like they wouldn't, you know, the New York, like go, go, go. I'm sorry, not sorry, I'm talking fast. When I'm with a homeowner, I'm like chill as fuck. Like, it's all about them. I'm asking them questions. I want to talk about, because everyone goes into who I am, what I can do, how I can, how are you gonna take advantage of me? What do you want from me? And I try to be like really all about them in the rapport phase.
Is that like, specifically virtual? Is that something that's
even on?
So
so it translates on virtual, surprisingly, right? So whether you're in person or you're in virtual, you have, I think, like pop songs are 3 minutes and 33 seconds for a reason. So you have 3 seconds to disrupt their pattern, like shake them out of what they're doing. 30 seconds to give your elevator pitch. 3 minutes to give maybe your more elevator pitch, to earn 30 minutes to sit at the kitchen table, whether in real life or virtual. So this all translates whether you're on the door, whether you're on a phone call, whether you're on a Zoom, whether you're on an event, a farmer's market. Surprisingly, it translates, right? So I discovered this by accident when we were back at Home Depot days. We used to have people in Home Depot and Best Buy and Costco or whatever set up in-home appointments. And if you didn't go to the, you would call and confirm, hey, have your electric bill. And I was like real ill. I could barely talk. Surprising, Italian dude that's like rambling on. And, sorry if I'm kind of yelling. Not yelling, I'm Italian. That's how we talk. But it like actually hurt to talk. So I couldn't have my 3 hours of report. So I was calling to reschedule. Like, oh, hey, Joe, I'm sorry. I can't, we had an appointment for tomorrow, but I'm not feeling well. Can we do next Tuesday? And hey, just remember to have your electric bill. I'm like, well, I got my electric bill right here. I'm like, okay. And they're like, well, I can text it right over to you. And I'm like, okay. Well, I plugged that in, and back then we could get do your own designs. Now with like Neo and certain technology, I get a design back in 15 minutes. I can customize, right? So okay, cool. I got a design. Well, and even back then, I would just let them be on the phone and just go through the value proposition, right? And you have to set the stage of what we're going to do, like that English paper. Like, hey, we're going to look at your electric bill. And sometimes I ramble, but when I'm with the customer, there's a method to the madness, right? Every question is asked for a reason. Every process is asked to take the next step. So, hey, we're going to look at your bill. We're going to look at your house on satellite. We're going to go over how it works. It all makes sense. We're going to have an engineer come out and get some exact measurements. Then we're going to get our final designs. We'll submit some permits and show you what it is, right? So you're earning that time.
Is that a big difference? Where I've noticed too is that it's a much of a longer process, much more steps. Not that it takes more time, but that homeowner needs to feel like there's the next step, as opposed to in home is like, you close in, the same day you're there. Is that
no way? Get that shit out of your brain. We're not selling a mattress. There's nothing to sleep on. At the end of my presentation, you either get it or you don't get it. Right? Like, there's nothing to think about. Maybe you want to talk with your accountant and you have plenty of time to see, do I want to do a loan cash or do I want to do a PPA lease with when I might move? What's my tax appetite? That's the only thing to think about, right? So like that whole thing of, and back at the Solar City days, I remember they would do metrics of like how many people, and it was even a soft credit half the time, but how many people would email the proposal. Half the time sales reps would never email the damn proposal. So like, don't feel, whether you're on the door or the phone, like, hey, sorry to interrupt you. I'm sorry I exist. I know you're busy. Like, there is no one selling or giving. There's no one giving away a $30,000 or $50,000 solar system that's going to save you a couple $100 right now and save you 20, 30, 40 grand over time. Or if you're a savvier person, that I can finance it for you where it costs the same as your electric bill, give or take, right? Pays for itself in 4 to 7, 8 years, depending on where you're at, give or take. And you're going to get 10 or 15 grand back from the federal government, and sometimes several thousand, depending on the state government. And once it's paid off, like, we don't think about, you know, $200 or $300 a month, big deal. Well, times 12 months a year, right? That's 2, 3, 4, 5,000 compounding. Even if it never goes up again, you're going to bet the electric doesn't go up, which it's done every year for 100 years. Once that system is paid off, now you're saving 2, 3, 4,000 a year. So it's the only investment I know. It pays itself off. It throws off tax credits. It can throw off state incentives. Once it's paid off, it's going to save you 20, 30 grand conservatively on a PPA, 50, 70, 80, $100,000 on a loan. It's printing you fucking money. So I'm not doing my job if I don't get you to take the decision. The next step either way is we need a site survey. Right. So we're going to have
just really quick. So what are some things that you learned that didn't work? Because a lot of people like going to virtual, and it's a trial by error process, you know? So what are some things that you trialed and processed but didn't work out, and that you would give advice to somebody going virtual right now?
I don't know. I mean, I think nothing is different, right? Like, it's the 21st century. We're talking wirelessly at the speed of light over cell phones with solar powered cell phones, right? And everyone has Amazon, everyone has Uber and Netflix and Airbnb and Tesla self-driving cars. And like, we're like, oh, if I don't go to their house, they might not buy from me. It's like in many ways, sometimes with virtual, they have more control. There might not be the awkward, like, pet the dog. Does the dog want to bite you? Like, maybe they didn't put their like laundry away and they're embarrassed about their house. Like, I love to break bread and become your best friend. And I'm that weird guy, like, on the train, I'm asking you about your, and I'm not asking you about your business. I ask people about their passions, what they're into, keep asking questions, right? And solar it's such a no-brainer, right? So by the end of the proposal, whether it's phone, Zoom, virtual, you should want to go solar. You should at least want to have someone come out to your house, or I didn't do my job and I'm a freaking idiot. Because solar sells itself. So it's a mentality like that 4-minute mile. Because I'm telling you, Joe, all along in the decade plus doing this, when I first did it, I was out on I had a little food truck in Maui, right? The Aloha Juice. And we had a little solar panel on there, and we had a pedal powered smoothie bike. So you'd like ride the bike and spin blenders. And I think I made pretty decent juice or whatever, but more people were interested in that pedal powered bike and like plugging their phone into the solar panel. So some dude, like 2 trucks and a truck guy, paid me $10 an hour to go door to door for solar. So I was like, if I'm going door to door, residential's great. Like, you convince the wife tells the husband what they're doing. And guys, don't get it twisted. Like, the wife makes the decision. So I don't care how cocky you are with your flat brim hat and like growing out with protein shakes or whatever. It's the wife that makes the decisions.
So you make sure the wife
is smart. Know that women are smarter. Always, yeah. But the thing is, we're taking the next step. So just as far as like the idea of different environments to sell solar. So I was at a juice truck by the beach, setting up appointments to go solar. Then I was going door to door. I've done farmer markets, events, music festivals with the Juice Hut, and I do like a little raffle, right? So some of the old school stuff works, as well as technology just amplifies the old school, right? You got to talk to people. You got to get out there. You got to network. So I would have a raffle ticket and give away a solar backpack. I don't know if I have. If you don't have a solar backpack and a solar phone charger, you're done. That one. Get this, and what I would do in real life is get this in everyone's hands when we could touch, and once you get vaccinated. And guys, we're in a 21st century NASA space age technology. Please don't get me started on misinformation and conspiracies. Science works. Get your ass vaccinated. Wear your fucking masks, guys. Like, along with freedom comes responsibility and civic duty to be a human. So we're in this ethical, moral, righteous movement. Please wear your mask when you're going door to door. When you're sitting with the homeowner, please be safe, right? We're all going to get vaccinated. We're going to have a roaring 20s. There's going to be even better tax credits. We're in this amazing thing. So just be smart. That's a side rant. But
No, I totally hear you, man. I really appreciate that. That's a lot of good information, and I don't want. I know that you don't have a lot of time, and we are going a little longer than planned. I want to get to the next question so that we can make sure that we don't go over too long. So I really appreciate you get some gold nuggets in there. And if you guys are watching and you're getting some good information, you have any suggestions, put in the comments right now. Like, heart it, share it. If you're listening in and you enjoy what you're hearing, might as well hit that button. So I'm going to keep this. You don't have to go too long if you don't like, but I do want to kind of know, because you've been in the industry for a long time, and I know you're really knowledgeable. You don't have to go too deep into it, but I just kind of curious. Can you talk about the history of the solar industry and how we are today? Just kind of I don't want you to take too long doing it, but just kind of your thoughts.
I've been going about this all day, so you can put some guide rails on if I'm rambling, but just real quick to finish up before about the settings of talking with people in real life in person. So what I'm saying is that, like, a juice hut at the beach, farmers markets. When Solar City first started, we had people in Home Depot set up in-home appointments, and I couldn't make the appointment. I called the homeowner to reschedule, and they emailed the bill. I emailed a contract. We went over the 30-minute consultation, 45 minutes. It went way longer because I was talking about their dog and their whatever. They signed a contract. It shocked the hell out of me. And we set up the site survey, and they went through. And so for the last 6 years, if they're longer than an hour away, I just do virtual, because we need to have a site survey anyway, right? So, hey, let's go over the value proposition. I can email you. Now we can Zoom, and people are comfortable with that. But I remember being in Home Depot. I wasn't the setter. I would come in, and my buddy Sunshine Dan, if he's out there, he was one of the best. I would come and hang out, and we would just have fun, and we would kick it. And most people would be like, I don't know, like nerds or shy or scared. Like, hi, would you like a solar home? Like, they're trying to buy a hammer or some paint. They don't care. So we would like have fun with it. Like, we'd be just chilling and like, oh, cool shirt. Oh, where'd you see that band? Oh, blah blah blah. And then like disrupt them and then start talking about it. But we would put things in their bags. We talk with them. We had consultations on Saturday where people brought their bill. I got in trouble and yelled at. They're like, you can't close deals in the Home Depot. I closed 3 signed contracts on a Saturday. I got in trouble. Then they did it. Then Elon shut down the Home Depot. So we didn't have any lead sources. So I copied realtors. I started networking, Chamber of Commerce, copying like financial people. Where do they get their leads in the community? Referrals. I think there's like hunting, fishing, and farming, right? So hunting is pounding the pavement, knocking doors, cold calls, talking to people who never thought about it. Fishing is maybe like online leads, funnels, drips. Farming is like plant your referral orchard, plant those seeds, nurture them. Some people are way better than me. You should chat with Ben Fetcher. He's who I called up and copied. He's the king of referrals, in my opinion.
Shout out to Ben Fetcher.
Yeah, he's really good. You should have him on. But anyway, so we weren't allowed to do the Home Depot. I'm like, I just closed 3 deals in a Home Depot. What do you mean? Then eventually they brought us in the Tesla showrooms, and people like hated that. They're like, because they were field salespeople. No, they weren't. Most of them were order takers. They couldn't close a front door. Like, you got to be passionate about. No one cares about electric. We need to make them care. But so I'd be set up there, and I'd be like, hey, welcome to the future. You want to test drive? Hey, this little boring solar panel. It's not as cool as that, electric sex on wheels, but it'll save you enough money to buy that car and power your house and car. I got in trouble because I was closing deals in the store. They're like, we set appointments, we go to the house, you can't close in the store. I'm like, someone just bought a $100,000 car in a fucking mall, and I just signed 3 deals. What do you mean I can't? I just did it. So then they transitioned to doing that, right? So when people are like, oh, no one will buy online, I'm like, look, everyone's got Amazon, Netflix. Like, it's the idea, and it's us. So I'm just saying, like, think that it's possible. I love being in person. I'm a social person. I can't wait to break bread and go to concerts. But like, we're in a global pandemic, 4,000 people die a day. That's like, we're great with like crocodile tears for 9/11, but we just can't be bothered to wear a mask like when in the worst pandemic in 100 years. So just like, it's possible to do things virtual in real life. So it's possible anywhere is all I'm saying. You can meet somebody on the train. I've met people on the train, and 30 minutes later, explain the value proposition, did a soft credit check on the app, emailed them a proposal. Hey, let's have some guy come out. So I'm just saying you can sell solar anywhere, anytime. But yeah, so for my history, that was kind of my history. That was kind of and the background of the industry. A lot of people don't know. I think I had this picture. I always ask older people about if they remember where they were when we landed on the moon, right? And the reason I bring that up is, we weren't born yet, but is that elicits powerful emotions if they were there. People remember JFK, the moon landing, 9/11, where they were, and that was the pinnacle of our civilization, right?
That's a gold nugget right there. That's a great, easy one that people can pick up and just start to put it in their arsenal. Just that question alone. So that's a good one, man.
And that's the story I tell. And the reason I do is, one, the pinnacle of where we were with technology and the hopes of things. And and then I go ask about if they remember where they were for the oil embargo, because Jimmy Carter had solar panels in the White House. It was solar hot water, like we talked about, but just the idea,
Yep.
right? And then if they remember, I used to be in Pennsylvania. If you remember where they were for 3 Mile Island, a nuclear leakage and meltdown. So a lot of people in the industry don't know, right? So real quick, the photovoltaic effect was like back in the 1800s. Farmers have their house set up with the southern thing to get passive solar. The Greeks and Romans knew about this stuff thousands of years ago. Stonehenge, the Mayans, nothing new under the sun, right? But the modern photovoltaics was discovered in the 1800s. New York City had a working solar panel 1890s, 1940s and 50s in Bell Labs here, which was AT&T, Ma Bell doing research. They had a working solar panel in 1954 on a satellite. So the reason I bring that up, right? It's just memory lane, is it's military grade, NASA grade equipment. It's literally been to the moon and back. The reason we're talking right now is solar powered satellites, perhaps, or Wi-Fi. So this stuff works. It's rugged. It's tested. It's proven. The reason, we could have gone solar, and the guy that told me, I didn't know any of this, right? The guy from NASA was like, listen, kid, we had solar panels back then. And I was like, really? And I was like, shit. He's like, listen, the cell phone in your pocket has more computer power than everything combined when we went to NASA because of Moore's law, right? This is more Swanson's law. So my point is, we could have done this long ago. It would have been crazy expensive. So that first dip here in our, this was a cool one. I don't know if I showed you that, right? The evolution of technology with cell phones. Use a little humor as well as talking about nuclear meltdowns and oil wars and terrorism and cancer and asthma. You also want to lighten it up, right? You're pressing emotional buttons for a reason, to get them to take action. It's not a coincidence, right? But here on our chart of the economics. So solar was $100 a watt. We went to the moon and back. It's on every satellite, but crazy expensive. Only the military or NASA can afford it. So this orange is the price plummet. That's the computer chip revolution. Here is the tipping point. And we should just know this for the industry. It doesn't really matter for customers. What happened then? Well, that was the Fukushima meltdown in Japan. So after that Fukushima nuclear meltdown, Germany outlawed nuclear power by 2020s, right? They call it the energy divide, the energy transition. And they created a feed-in tariff where they were guaranteed, is better than net metering, actually. So it was only, my point is, this technology was sitting on the shelf gathering dust at NASA. We had it maybe on calculators or whatever, but it was expensive, but they kept it away. Why? The power of oil companies. They're monopolies, they're cartels, right? They're like drug dealers. So what happened then is Germany doesn't have coal and natural gas. They don't have the oil lobbyists that we do. They're not willing to send their kids in the Middle East to die for their oil addiction while financing and motivating global terrorism for a finite fossilized sunlight that's destroying the environment we live on and is going to run out. Forget save the planet, save the humans, right? Our whole civilization runs on fossil fuels. The Stone Age didn't end because we ran out of stones. It was great. The 20th century, it made all this stuff possible. But, it's the 21st century now, right? We're talking on cell phones and satellites. So anyway, what kicked off 10 years ago when I first started doing this, the cost of panels has dropped another 90%. Right now we're down to 30, 40 cents a watt, another 90% since 10 years ago. So after Fukushima, Germany outlawed nukes. It was just an engineering and financial problem they solved. They're paying $4 a liter for gas, $15 a gallon or whatever. I suck at math. But so then China ramped up mass production. That's when the price started to plummet, right? So the computer chip, it's more Swanson's law, which means every doubling in manufacturing, the price comes down. And then in the US, Uncle Joe put in actually it was Bush in 2006. Jimmy Carter had some incentives, but Uncle Joe really expanded in 2008, put the tax credits in. So then you can it's a perfect storm where Wall Street capital, I'd love to go solar, Joe, but it's too expensive. I don't have the money. So now Wall Street can get in. What's the catch? These investors will buy the hardware. Their greedy motivation is to get tax credits and sell you electric at a cheaper rate. or now we can finance it for you, and you can get those tax credits and pay for itself. So it's this virtuous cycle where it went from a luxury niche to it's starting to become a mass-produced commodity. And what happens once that happens, right? So now it's like a triple dip where you have the tax credits, you have the equipment plummeting in cost, and the beauty of being where we're at is everyone buys electricity every day from a monopoly that goes up, right? So I make everything is analogies with homeowners, right? Things they can understand. And I talk about like, hey, when I first started, solar was like Whole Foods. It was this expensive luxury. You had to be some rich hippie, pay $10 for organic kale kombucha, and I'm into all that stuff too, but shouldn't be so overpriced. But once the price plummeted and these tax credits and creative finance came along, it became a mass-produced commodity. So the top people are Target, the fancy Walmart, Google, Apple, Verizon, Costco, the military. Why? Because the ROI is there. So that's kind of the history of where we've gotten. This has happened with every technology. So we're at that tipping point where we're in exponential growth, right? Like humans think linear.
So let's talk. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. So yeah, we think linear
about that.
Exponential growth is doubling. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I hear you. So let's talk about that because that's a good segue. And everybody's listening. If you have any questions, just tag Steven. He'll get back to you. If you have any question you want to ask him, a good time right now, put in the comments, like or heart it. But that's a good segue for, I'll be remiss not to bring it up. Today was the inauguration of the new president. And, it's something where, how do you think the new administration is going to affect the solar industry going into the future?
Great question. I remember seeing the Ewoks when the Ewoks were dancing. I kind of cried some tears of joy that competent adults are back in power. Super happy. In general, I like to avoid politics, right? Like I can't wait to sleep easy and not think about politics, right? Like business is what matters. Money is what matters. But in the solar industry, and a lot of the new guys that come with their flat brims and their protein shakes, and they're like, I'm the God's gift to sales, right? Like, you got to know the roots of where you're coming from, right? So without the tax credits, no one would have bought solar. Blackstone and Wall Street investors, you think they would have put up billions of dollars for people to go solar for free? Like, you're fucking kidding if you think that, right? So this is, and now, subscribe to the SEIA, the Solar Industry Lobbying. So in general, I think politics is stupid and doesn't really matter, but it's about local power and building coalition. So it's really cool. It was actually Bush, the Republican, that I wasn't the biggest fan of, but he seems smart by comparison now. In 2006, they had a small tax credit. Jimmy Carter had a tax credit. It was more solar hot water, like in the 70s and 80s. So it was Biden during the last economic crisis when Republicans crashed the economy with deregulation of Wall Street. Like they tell a good game about like being pro-business, but it's like really like only if you're the country club set. And I'm proudly blue collar growing up. I got scholarships to go to blue blooded schools with people that use seasons like verbs, So like, anyway, the working class. So what I see, I'll forget my asides, right? So one, they're going to bring back the EV, the electric car tax incentive.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah. So the solar, they originally in 2008 put that in as the part of the restoration in for whatever it was, 10 years. And it was supposed to step down. It got expanded. There's bipartisan support for solar. So people outside of politicians that are paid for by oil lobbyists, like 95% of Republicans and Democrats and independent citizens love solar. There's a great lady to check out. Her name's Debbie Dooley. She was a Tea Party.
Dooley, shout out.
Debbie Dooley. She's a Tea Party person, which is not my bag of tea. But she got in Florida and Georgia, solar was illegal, at least a third-party PPA, because of oil and electric monopolies in the Sunshine State. So she's like, didn't like that. So she got together with Greenpeace. So she formed the Green Tea Party. And she's like, if you're pitching solar to conservatives, like just don't talk about the environmental aspect because whatever, climate change has been politicized. It's like big tobacco is like the science is out if smoking cigarettes is bad. Like everyone knows, right? It's like, and it's funny, there's Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was a Republican of California, who saw the big business. And I love how Uncle Joe sees, like, I don't see climate change. I see lots of blue collar jobs. I see, solar is a powerful lobby. It's since 2008 has created 1 out of every 8 jobs at 22 times the national average. solar and wind and cannabis are the fastest growing job creators, and they're clean and they're usually higher paying than extractive industries. Like, nothing against coal miners, which built the country, right? But the coal owners have never been the fans of Appalachia. They've extracted and exploited and taken your money and wealth and resources and gotten you sick, right? So we want to train lots of job training for vets. I wasn't brave enough, but thank God there's people brave enough. Vets should have job training. People that are displaced from oil and those old Rust Belt manufacturing, job training. We need all the workers we can get. So anyway, Arnold, who was like bipartisan is what I'm saying, American, not Republican or Democrat. We're all Americans. There's one race, the human race. We're all on this blue-green garden planet spinning around space. We have an abundance of resources, enough sun falls, and if we can harness like a fraction of it, we can power civilization for 10,000 years. So why are we fighting wars over a finite? I mean, even oil and coal is fossilized sunlight. It's dinosaur bones, right? Why are we fighting wars over that? And Arnold was like, I don't care if you believe in global warming. Lock yourself in your garage and turn on your truck. He had a Hummer, and then he got turned on to Tesla. It's like, you won't
that was great.
Right? Like, forget global warming, like just pollution, right? Like, no one wants cancer, asthma, and like just we don't want to breathe crappy air. But I guess so. Yeah, lots of good things. We're gonna have a roaring 20s. Future's so bright, you got to wear shades, right? Where energy is the biggest industry. Every single one on those charts, the dinosaur always, the tech always swallows the dinosaur, right? So Kodak isn't coming back, right? Do you want to work for the cable company or Netflix? Do you want to work for the landline phone or cell phones, right? Do you want Kodak or a digital camera? Kodak even discovered digital and tried to keep it buried because their money was selling paper, not cameras, right? So this is inevitable, and we're on this cusp of exponential growth. So really what drives things is business and economics, right? So the solar train has left the station. Once you cross that tipping point where it's the cheapest unsubsidized form of energy, meaning without tax credits and rebates, you're going to build a massive solar farm in Nevada or Dubai. I mean, Christ, Tesla is more valuable than Exxon right now. And people in the Middle East are building massive solar farms. They're going to sell us the rest of the oil like the junkies we are until it runs out. But they're smart. They're transitioning, right? So that's why I name drop like the military and Wall Street. These are the smartest, greediest people. These Fortune 500 companies, they're not going green because they care about the environment. They're going green because it's the cheapest form of energy. It's control, it's power, it's balance sheet, it's tax credits, it's PR. It's going from a consumer being taken advantage of by a monopoly to a producer, a prosumer that's in control, like this peer-to-peer economy of Uber and ride sharing and Bitcoin and blockchain, and these disruptive technologies will win. Check out a book by Peter Diamandis called Abundance and Bold. It's all about these disruptive, innovative technologies, and those words are so overused. I hate the hype of it, but that's what we're a part of. But don't get it twisted. If you're new to the industry, study the roots of this game and where it came from, right? This was like super expensive. Like no one could afford this actually, except for the off-grid growers up in Northern California, like in the 70s and 80s. And it was a military thing. And it was actually the oil companies that had little things up on and the phone companies for their wires that were far away and their drilling rigs and stuff. But without those tax credits that were put in place, that were bipartisan support, we wouldn't be here. So I think what we're going to see is, and not to go back because I never want it's like the Eye of Sauron. I don't even want to give it any energy to discuss it. But like on some of those solar forums, guys, like, and you can hate me, whatever. You just got to tell the truth here. Like, imagine we were in like cannabis, right? And one person fought to decriminalize it, to give tax credits to it, wants every state and home to have access to it, wants to massively expand it and be like the world leader in it. Like that's what, Biden wants to do back in Paris Accord today, be the world leader for electric cars, for solar, for battery, for high tech. We can't hire enough people for STEM jobs. So if you're like angry about immigrants, which we are a nation of immigrants that like had on stolen Native American land built with slavery, and every immigrant group has been exploited and taken advantage of from Europeans and everywhere all over the world. Even women now are not getting paid equal. But I still think it's the most beautiful idea, this idea of like all these dreamers and weirdos and misfits from all over the world, whether you came here recently or your great-grandparents came. It's this idea of freedom and equality and opportunity. And I'm so proud to be like American. Is such good stuff that we can do. And when we won the Cold War and the space race, we weren't looking backwards. We weren't making like we didn't want to make Kodak great again. Like we want to innovate, lead, and manufacture, right? And so Kodak and coal is not coming back just on economics, nothing to do with ideology or politics. Politics just follow what people do, right? Corporations just follow what people do. So we as citizens and consumers, like when we demand change at the grassroots level, the corporate and the politics and the free market responds way quicker. I'm used to be more of a hippie. I still am a hippie at heart, hygienic and hardworking. But the free market is this amazing thing. Like if you say we want organic food, Walmart and Costco will sell you organic food. Walmart and Costco are the biggest users of solar power, the biggest sellers of organic. And now I would rather go to the local butcher, baker, candlestick maker. Their supply chain I don't like. But if we demand supply chains without child sweatshop, almost slave labor, then we might have to pay a tiny bit more, you know. But the free market can pivot, but it needs good signals where government comes in, and whereas us as citizens put the playing field, put tax credits in place, right? It's not subsidies or handouts, right? It's a tax credit to consumers and investors, which the conservative mantra is tax credits drive job growth. So people are going to build solar factories and they're going to employ local workers, and the job on your roof can't be outsourced, right? So sort of going off on tangents, but like my message is like the future is so bright, you got to wear shades. We're part of this like beautiful, amazing thing. We live on this awesome planet with amazing cultures and food and music and art. You know, I don't know like if you ever studied Maslow's hierarchy of needs. There was a guy, and this is for me, the deeper thing is why I'm in this. You know, I always thought it's like an evangelical conversion almost, like we're converting people to the light, to a better way. Now, of course, we're doing it for economics and it helps them save money, all that cool stuff, right? But the deeper thing of what we're a part of, like we're a part of getting people access to energy that can't be controlled or monopolized, putting an end to oil wars and pollution. You know, I'm sure hope we don't fight over water. Maybe we can just go back to fighting over sports instead of politics. But like we're giving people access to unlimited information, energy, medicine, like, and that's that book Abundance with 3D printers and solar panels and AI and all this cool stuff that's coming down the pike. So we're really at the forefront of something cool that we should be proud to like help our communities, our families. We should all give back. We should all donate to the Give Power thing. Like every single person should put a certain part of every sale where, you know, we talk about the big bad electric companies as monopolies. There's 2 or 3 billion people around the world that don't have access to electric. And you look and you see Africa, India, even the energy poverty of Detroit or the Bronx, right? Where it's people, you know, typically women and children hiking to cut the last forest, or they're burning dung. And like indoor air, water pollution is one of the biggest killers, and indoor air pollution. So, you know, it's like you saw they didn't have the infrastructure for landlines, but they instantly went to cell phones and then mobile like blockchain payments and Kiva like microloans. So you get them donate a solar power system to a developing world. They can now pump and purify and irrigate drinking water. They can all get online, which is not Kardashians and cat pics and this misinformation conspiracy theories. It's like the Library of Alexandria wirelessly at your fingertips, banking. So you can have little people starting small businesses. You can have kids being able to go to school. You can have refrigeration, which the big thing for like, we take all this stuff for granted, right? Like all these miracles, but refrigeration, not only for food, but for vaccines, which work and have saved millions of lives since the beginning of time, right? Like I love natural and organic and I'm a hippie, but like, you know, it's copying nature, right? My aunt actually used to work, this is a tangent, but whatever, it's important. My aunt used to work for Jonas Salk Institute. Jonas Salk, like people were in iron lungs of polio. Like we have this affluenza where we forget history, right? Like, and like, do you see anyone with polio or smallpox? Like, no, because vaccines work. There's no conspiracy theory. Like there's all kinds of shady cartels. I've been hating on the oil companies and blah, 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 right? There's all kinds of groups, but no one, maybe they are. Maybe there's 12 dudes sitting with some alien lizard somewhere. Like, I don't know. But I think Occam's razor, like no one's smart enough to do that. Selling people addictive pills their whole life. Yes, there's a profit motive. And that's why they kept like cannabis and things illegal. But like a one-time shot that's free, there's no profit motive. There's no microchip. Like, hello, you're worried about a microchip? This thing tracks us. And thank God for Bill Murphy and his course, learning how to use that Google thing to
shout out to Bill Murphy.
Yeah, but I'm loving the course, and there's a lot of other people doing good stuff there, so that we can get our message to more people using the technology. Just amplifies what is organic and in real life. I'm going on tangents. I'm ranting, but
Well, that's good, man. You know what? I really appreciate you going in depth with these answers, and we are definitely going longer than planned. And I just have one more question, but if you guys have a comment on that, or you like what he's saying, or you have a suggestion, or you want to ask a question, this is the time to do it. Tag him in there; he'll get back to you in the comment section. Last question is just I want to make sure for newer solar reps that are coming into the industry. First of all, any last thoughts, but any advice for solar pros starting out in solar is the last question. I appreciate your time, Stephen.
Yeah, great question. Thanks for having me. And sorry, not sorry, I ran. I could talk about this anytime. So if anyone wants to like call and riff and ask any questions, right? Like everything I learned was for that guy, Ben Fetcher, right? When we first got in there, he was like always shattering all these records, like getting like 20 plus installs a month. And everyone in my office was like, he's a robot. He doesn't sleep. He has his sister do all of his follow-up paperwork. He da 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 da. And like I called him up and I was like, hey, can I pick your brain and take you out to lunch? And I was like, I heard your sister does all your work and you buy leads. He's like, yeah, I don't have a sister. Here's everything I do. And I just copied everything he did, right? So people that love it, anyone is here to help. I'm here to help. You're here to help. So I guess like my message for folks is like, we're a part of this amazing movement. It's got to be mission driven. We're changing the way the world gets energy, like all that hippie stuff that I sort of keep in my back pocket for the homeowner. I don't really talk about, right? But like trying to end oil wars, stopping kids from getting asthma attacks and cancer, right? Like the two biggest things of pollution, like the virtue signal of your metal straw is all well and good for your $10 kombucha that most people can't afford, right? But like the biggest things is powering our house with coal and gas. Nothing against coal, but now you know better, you do better. Stone Age and end because we ran out of stones. Give those people job training so that they don't fall for populist, reactionary, fascist movements when they don't have a coal mine in town and they're on opiates and watching Fox News and crazy shit, right? Like give people access to education, information. But we're a part of this movement, so you always have to be moral, ethical, legal, right? Solar's going to help most everyone you meet. If it doesn't, like walk away and tell them, get referrals. Don't sell a loan to like an old person that can't use tax credits. But in everything we do, be why centered, like the Simon Sinek, right? Start with why. Be like a humble servant of good. Be out there to help people. If you start with like wanting to help people, like the solar sells itself. It's such a no-brainer, right? And do your homework, read books, do podcasts. Like it shocks me. It's like imagine being a pro athlete and getting paid all this loot that we get paid, and like you like Allen Iverson. Like I don't need to go to practice. Like
Practice?
Yeah, they hide all this information in books, like read the books, listen to they're mostly free now. Do stuff like this. This is great. So thanks for, you don't need to reinvent the wheel, right? Nothing new under the sun. So reach out to those people in your office, in the industry. Stop talking shit on each other. Have an abundance mindset. There's plenty of sunshine to go around. The cool thing about this is energy is the biggest industry in human history. We talked about that several times. Right, I repeat myself, but I'm making points to. You got to tell people a couple times when you're asking them to sign up for a 25-year agreement or drop 30 or 50 grand or multi-million dollars for when I did commercial deals back in the day, right? But you're making this case or whatever. But energy is this biggest industry. We saw all these charts of disruption, right? This is not if then when. Like this is inevitable. Cross the tipping point. We're only at like 2 or 3%. So it took like 20 years to get to 1 million homes with solar. Then it took like, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, check the math, to get to 2 million. So that's exponential. We think linear and we think finite. So we think there's only so much to go around. Dog eat dog, get yours, screw the other guy. Oh, the world runs on oil? Well, let's go send 18-year-old kids to fight wars to go get that oil. Right? Or no, like we have smart minds. Let's be the world leader. I mean, we had electric cars 100 years ago. We had biodiesel. The first cars ran on peanut and hemp oil. And that's probably why hemp and alcohol were made illegal for prohibition, because farmers could have grown and fermented their own fuel back when DuPont and those people were discovering oil. But like, let's we're a part of this amazing thing. So exponential growth is happening. Everyone is going to go solar, whether they get it from you or not. And if you don't get it from me, like get it from Joe, get it from someone, get it from your brother-in-law, Lou, the electrician, right? It's going to help your family save a lot of money. So we're poised for this exponential growth. But also, as it starts to go mainstream, At some point, the margins are going to thin out, and there won't, hopefully there's these real estate margins forever, but get out there and hustle. Be in my hippie days, I used to say a hustler for job, right? Like it's our moral duty to help people go solar. Every solar house we plant, whatever the math is, it shows on everyone's proposals, I forget, but it's like planting a couple hundred trees that will take out hundreds of thousands of pounds of pollution. You could probably quantify how many asthma attacks won't happen, how many kids won't get cancer, how many kids won't get shipped to fight oil wars in Iraq that will get a high-paying construction job that can't be outsourced, or that'll get like STEM careers with its access to everybody. So I would just say abundance mentality, learn, reach out, make this a community. Like this is something, and it's great. Coming from the hippie perspective and a blue collar perspective, where you don't get this education about Warren Buffett, right? I was busy studying Jimmy Buffett and Bob Marley or whatever. So when you start making good money like this, it's possible. First in your mind, it's a mindset. So it's possible, like Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, How to Win Friends and Influence People. These are like the godfathers of that. And some people think, and like, so then was like generation 2 was Jim Rohn and Zig Ziglar and all these guys. And then generation 3 is like Tony Robbins and Gary Vee and Grant Cardone and Wolf of Wall Street. And so and there's great ones like Brian Tracy. When you don't need like used car salesmen, Brian Tracy's like, well, I was sitting on the back porch and talking with my grandpa, and he was like more down home. Tony Robbins said, like, I'm not a motivational speaker, right? He's like, I'm not going to tell you to put on rose-colored glasses and go home like the first part of The Secret. Like, write a check for $1 million and sit there and meditate. All important, right? But it's the second law of The Secret is work your fucking ass off, right? Work. And Zig Ziglar talks about the seasons, right? So you plant your seeds. And Tony Robbins is like, once you plant your seed, I'm not going to tell you everything's honky-dory. You got to get on your hands and knees in the dirt. You got to fertilize the soil organically. You got to rip out the weeds. You got to water your crops. Through the heat of the summer, you got to protect them from pests and birds and deers or whatever. Then in the fall, you're going to have an abundant harvest. It's so abundant, you either have to have friends, or you got to learn how to make like salsa or, whatever with all the tomatoes and cucumbers you get. So that's like, so my point is all of that stuff, it's not just positive thinking, it's the laws of physics. It's the laws of nature. It's how the universe works. So all that like hippie stuff and, Native American, like indigenous stuff, the mysticism is all like quantum physics and modern science is proving, right? So your vibe attracts your tribe, the vibrations of that you're put out. That's the deeper thing of connecting with people. Solar, like whatever, it doesn't really matter. It's like, if I met you in person or on Zoom, like I wouldn't be ranting. I'm trying to get 10 years of data and information.
I know.
Whatever. We can do this another one later or whatever. But with the person, it's all about you. I'd be like, and on a deep level, not like, oh, Joe, I see you got a football hat. I like football. Like go 2, 3, 4 deep and really get to like, what are your passions? What lights your socks on fire? If you hit the lottery tomorrow, where would you go? What would you do? What do you jump out of bed? Tell me all about your kids and go deeper. That's what matters, right? It's the people. So solar is like, we learn the psychology, we learn the value propositions, we learn closing techniques. My point is that there's an art and a science to this that can be learned, can be replicated, and can be scaled. And to go out there and work your ass off with something that you believe in, and now it's possible to do well by doing good. I'm coming around to this crazy when you see, you're for whatever big numbers. I'm like, what? I just made more on one deal than people made 2 and 3 months. So also stay humble and servant mentality. We're not God's greatest gift to sales. We're not even really selling things half the time, right? Like, so we're in this niche. We're in this perfect time with this exponential growth where our offering is cheaper. There's lots of ways people can get into it. So be smart, work really hard, know why you're working, take your money and then learn that thing about compound and exponentials. Save 80% of your money, put it away from yourself so you're not out like, at the end of the month, you don't have more month than money and you're, I'm lobster and caviar and buying out the bar. Like, that's fun, that's cool. But find your why, whether it's your family or some cool trips, put money away because there's very few things outside of like Wall Street or cartels or like neurosurgeons, like doctors that study for 12, 15 years, or the lucky sperm club that are like born into like old wealth. Most of us are probably like blue collar people or lower middle class. Like this is a blessing what we're in. like this doesn't come around all the time. So be grateful, be humble, work hard, share the wealth, like give to give power, be a force for good in your community. You start making good money, save most of it, invest it, grow, get real estate. I'm just starting to learn that stuff. I'm early on that journey. Find the smart people and copy them. And you know, remember what you're doing and why we're doing this, and you know, have fun with it. This is also supposed to be fun. I remember, I think it was Netflix, the anti-rule book, when Elon at Tesla had the handbook. It was like, don't be an asshole, like be cool, be fun, like remember the roots of this, see the future, like the future's so bright, we have to have shades, like have an abundant mindset, but stay humble and stay hungry, and you know, keep on slanging sunshine, sipping moonshine, like love what we're doing, be happy what we're doing, and that energy will translate, right? And
I like that. We're gonna keep slinging sunshine and sipping moonshine, baby. I really like that, man. That's some really, really good advice, and I know you're giving a lot of information. So it's cool thing is that this is going to be recorded, so people can go back and listen to it again and get the parts they missed. So I really appreciate answering all those questions. I know we went way longer than planned. I really appreciate you being flexible. What if somebody want to reach out to you? Or how can they reach out to you? How can they, message you, ask you questions, get to know you?
yeah, I mean, I'm here to help. The buzzword now is add value. I'm not totally sure what that means, but I'm here anytime. Like if anyone needs any help, Facebook. I don't have a YouTube channel. I guess I need to get with the times, right? I'm new to all that, so it's great you have this podcast. So, you know, YouTube. I don't have YouTube. Message me on Facebook. You can call me anytime. My personal email is solarsurfer2020. Because back when I made that, like literally in college,
In Hawaii.
yeah, I thought like 2020 is the future. Who would have known? Thank God that that's over. And let's get some roaring 20s and put that behind us. And like, you know, email me. I don't know if anyone remember my phone number, but you know, my phone number is 484-782-4372. 484-782-4372. I love the scene in The Wolf of Wall Street. You know, it's like, pick up the phone, late on your rent, pick up your phone. So there's a lot of stuff like get chasing these technologies, and Zoom is amazing. I'm so glad people are on it. But like the phone is a magical machine. Pick it up and call. The old school stuff of being scrappy, like I'm not the best at it, so ask other people how to do this, but pound the pavement, pound on doors, knock the door, pick up the phone, connect with people. So yeah, connect with me anytime. I'm an open book. Most everything I said has been gotten from books or podcasts or people that are smarter than me. So I'm smart enough to know that I don't really know anything, but I'm going to be hungry and work hard and copy people that know what they're doing. So I love to talk about books so I can share book recommendations. But yeah, reach out anytime. Message me on Facebook or whatever. I'm here to help anybody in any way I can. You know, I don't know much. I love this game and this industry, and
you definitely know a lot, bro, and it's hard. There's so much information. You need more time to give it all out, man. So I really appreciate you squeezing us in and getting, the information out there, because it's so many gold nuggets, so much valuable information you give, man. So I really appreciate it. So thanks for being on, Stephen. And next week we're gonna have another. Actually, next week I'm going to be on vacation, celebrating my birthday in the Bahamas. Actually, we're going to be off next week. But then next week, in 2 weeks from today, we're going to have Eric Garcia. If you don't know him, he is a beast. He is a strong closer. He's also built a team. So he's a really good asset in the solar industry. So a lot of good information from him. But Stephen, again, man, that was awesome. I really appreciate it. We definitely got to do this again.
Yeah, man, thank you for having the space. I love the community. Let's have peace and prosperity. And I love what you're doing here, Joe. Thanks for letting me join the community. Solar people out there, like, love being a part of the Sunshine Mafia. Let's keep helping the world and have fun with it. And, you know, let's rock 2021.
Over and out.
Peace.